Senator Durbin's earlier comments on Iran and withdrawing from the Iran agreement. This is a big mistake. It splits us from our allies and puts us on a path to war with Iran. And Mr. Secretary, I really appreciate your advocacy and outspokenness on this issue. We understand the President has made his decision and is going to withdraw and reimpose sanctions. If Iran were to restart its nuclear weapons program, do you believe the President can order a unilateral attack to stop that program, and if so, under what authority?
Senator, I'd prefer not to talk about a hypothetical case like that. I think that this is an issue that we've seen discussed here on the Hill. Certainly we've looked at the AUMF authority in another venue. We've looked at the War Powers Act, was a previous generation ago effort to come to grips with this issue. But I would say right now, everything that we are doing, and you can see it with Korea, you can see it with how long it took for us to make the decision on this issue. We're diplomatically led on this. We're not talking about any default to war as the binary choice. We're going back into working with allies, working with the international community, United Nations, with Ambassador Haley, and working this issue forward.
Yeah, well, I'm very pleased to hear that, of considering the diplomatic options, but I think it's pretty clear, and I won't get you into the hypothetical, that unless there's an imminent threat, I don't think the President can order that. I think he has to come to the Congress. The President's national security, and this is what concerns me, as I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the people that surround him. President's National Security Advisor John Bolton published an op-ed in the New York Times just over 3 years ago titled, "To Stop Iran's Bomb, Bomb Iran." If the U.S. were to use force to stop an Iranian nuclear weapons program, we must consider the most likely second and third order impacts, how Iran and other nations would respond to such escalation, or how such attack could lead to other actions in the region. Following the experience in Iraq, can the Department of Defense be confident that such an action would be limited to airstrikes and avoid another ground war involving U.S. troops in the Middle East?
Senator, I have had numerous conversations in the last 2 or 3 weeks with Mr. Bolton. This issue, as characterized by his article that you quoted there, has not even arisen. There is, as we all recognize, a sobering aspect of being in the positions that he and I occupy.
Thank you. The National Security Advisor Bolton's 2015 op-ed also advocated a U.S. policy of regime change for Iran. Rudolph Giuliani is now the President's attorney and recently made public remarks in support of regime change for Iran. Does the United States have a policy of regime change for Iran? And if so, what actions does the President intend to take to implement that policy?
Senator, as you know, our problem with Iran is not with the Iranian people. It is with the regime that holds them captive, basically, to the activities they've conducted. But I would let Mr. Bolton and Mr. Giuliani speak for themselves, sir. I'd prefer not to comment on that and let them speak for themselves.
Thank you. The Senate Foreign Relations Committee may meet this month to debate and update the AUMF to replace the 9/11 AUMF and the Iraq War AUMF. I hope that your team has compared the new Senate language, which Chairman Corker released last month, with the existing authorities. My reading of the new AUMF is that it authorizes force against Al-Qaeda and ISIL and some named associate forces, but it does not authorize force against the Syrian government or against the Iranian government. Do you agree with that reading? Would you commit to providing the Department of Defense and a Department of Defense analysis of the proposed updated AUMF prior to the committee markup, which may occur in 2 weeks? We really appreciate having your input into this, seeing how important it is.
Senator, I've worked with the two senators who are involved with this, and the White House is working with them. We have been, I think, heard well, but let me get back to the White House and see where the interagency is on this. State Department's important, obviously, in an event like this or in an issue like this, because we try to keep the U.S. military and the Defense Department in a reinforcing role to State Department's lead on foreign policy, where we belong and where I think we're strongest. But we'll get back to you, Senator, on this.
The important thing, and I think we have emphasized this with Chairman Corker, is that if he's going to go forward with a markup of the proposal that's out there, before we do that we actually have a hearing where we could hear from all the individuals you talked about, and in addition have another panel which would be outside experts to talk about what this means. It seems that if we're going to really head down the road of a new and updated AUMF, that the administration needs to take a strong position where they are on it, and in addition, outside experts look at it. And I notice, and I'll put this one in for the record, but the administration, as you know, the last administration, when it was going to bomb in Syria, asked for Congress's permission to do so, and it didn't get it. And does this administration consider the use of chemical weapons anywhere in the world as a legal basis for U.S. military force without a vote in Congress? It seems to me this is a big issue, the difference in administrations, and so I'll put it for the record. I know, Secretary Mattis, how thoughtful you are, and you really think these things out, and so I'd appreciate a good, thoughtful answer on that one. Thank you very much.